Hello, my name is Christopher Lara, and this is the discussion part on research study number two on IAT Harvard test. And today, the subject for my essay would be the implicit bias, whether this new generation has it better or harder than the old generation. And what I would be alliterating today would be basically baby boomers, millennials versus Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Um, why I say implicit bias is primarily because however you whether you're old, well not old, well how old are you, your implicit bias would be different from everyone else's. And even though still as me as a young individual who is 21, who was born in the year of Gen Z, 2024. I would say that I have implicit bias on it as well myself because I do believe that we do have it easier. Um Nonetheless, we have it easier going through technology development in some sections in some sectors versus as like financially we are at a disadvantage. The reason why I say that is because the dynamic how it works, the dynamic of how the stock market, how the economy branched off. What I mean by that is that back then during the baby boomer and the millennial era, or timestamp, I would say is that the economy was doing fairly pretty good. We were recovering, I believe, by from the First World War and the Second World War, if I'm not mistaken. In doing so, jobs were booming. Everyone was doing the right thing, what they had to do and whatnot. I would also want to say that you could really buy a house by the dime or by a penny, and that's it. Houses prices were not that expensive. Wages were pretty good. I mean, you wouldn't need to get a second job unless you wanted to. And typically, the and typical household back then would be that the husband, the wife, and he would have some kids. I would say the most three people had back then. That was the statistics. I would say um that also. Like I said, the father, which is, the father would just work a 9 to 5, a regular 9 to 5 at basically at any other job, and he would have enough to provide for himself, for his family, for his kids, and even heck, even if he wanted to buy himself a new car, he could buy himself a car or he could buy himself another house. The economy was doing pretty good. The prices weren't skyrocketing. Everything was very cheap and affordable. It was a good way to thrive on investments and to thrive with life. Fast forwarding to this generation in 2025, everything went downhill from here. Prices skyrocketed, groceries skyrocketed, jobs liquefied, the employment rate went down and went up. I would say the main reason or the main person to the victim in this, or the one to put the blame on, would be the federal government. But also I would say also the events that have been occurring recently. I would say that COVID was one of them. COVID really stopped the whole world around for I believe was 3 to 4 years before things ran effectively all over again properly, I would say. And then with the consistent of the government shutdown and whatnot, and that just really was going up and down. That's where we start seeing inflation, prices, along with the presidency was Biden giving out stimulus checks, devalued the US dollar bill, and started making things skyrocket from there. And like I said, it is implicit bias because like I said, however you see it, it has an up and a down, um, a pro and a con to every reaction. Like I said, back why I mean pro and con. Obviously the pros I listed them already. The cons of the old ways would be that, well, women didn't have much rights back then. LGBT community wasn't really. It was around, but however, it wasn't really socially appropriate. People would get murdered, lynched, because of that, or be humiliated, because they were not heterosexual. They liked, the same sex. That also includes that mental health. Like I said, mental health was a major thing. Especially baby boomers, they were known and no, yes, baby boomers were known to be the the silent generation where that they were told like, oh, just like, just just shut up and just keep on going. They were really never a big talk about their own emotions. And that was one of their major downfalls, I would say, during that time period versus comparing to now, 2025, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, we are very openly social about the norms, about knowing whether what's socially appropriate, such as like, talking about mental health, seeking therapy, seeking therapists, seeking help in those areas. Um, Also now in the future, LGBT community, they're also very socially acceptable. I would say, I mean, it's not 100% acceptable everywhere you go, but it's a lot more acceptable to be seen out in the street nowadays versus back then. I would say women, yeah, women agreeing their rights to earn property, to get money, and the same thing as men. They got the equivalent rights as men as well. Mm, I believe that is all that I have for today. Thank you much for listening to my rant, and see y'all later.